Okay, folks, next week our country changes forever, and I need you to be prepared for it. No violence, no violence. That would be the worst possible thing you could do. It would play right into their hands. And don't panic. Don't panic. I'll tell you why. So, Texas Paul, hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better.
All right, so please hang out with me and just take a breath for a second. Hegseth has called a meeting of all military senior leaders next week. And there are a couple of reasons why he could be doing this, and I'm going to walk you through some of them, okay? One reason is he could ask all of these leaders for a pledge of loyalty to Donald Trump instead of the Constitution. And if they don't give that pledge, he could have them fired or arrested. And when you hear that and you go like, all over, they're going to take over the military. In order for me to believe that, which I don't, I would have to believe that every other leader and military person underneath them was going to just roll over if their leaders got arrested or fired. And that's not the case. Because let me be clear about this. Our entire military, especially the officers, especially the leaders from top to bottom, are trained in military history and are trained in the UCMJ, are trained in the Constitution. And the higher up they go, the better off they're trained. And they are trained against enemies foreign and domestic. And if you don't think in the back of their minds that they have thought about this or this coming down the pipe in some way, you would be wrong. The previous time that Trump was, running the country, military leaders were aware of this and they were preparing for this. They understood this was a possibility.
It is confirmed that U.S. high-ranking military officers have to fly in to the country, to the United States of Embarrassment, and meet, Peter Hegseth. I think that's his name. Yes, and much as they are saying that it is nothing, alarming security-wise, a lot of people are wondering if it is not that serious, then why was this not conducted over Zoom or anything else? What is going on? Of course, the government is expected to shut down as well, and there's a lot of people in here that have quite a lot of things to say to you, my people that live in the United States of America, what you need to know, what you need to be prepared for, and is it concerning or not? But before we get into it, my name is Gracie, and I would like to welcome you back to this channel. If you're new, you are welcome as well. Thank you for the support. Big shout out to my members. You guys do me amazing. And above all, I do hope that all of you are doing all right and staying safe and stable and secure. Yes, I think we are going to have to look at some of this news. Quite a lot of people are concerned, and I think you guys would like to listen to some of what your fellow Americans have to say about this. We'll come back and talk about it. Do me a favor, like the video. Don't forget to share, subscribe to the channel as well if you find the episodes I bring on here educative, entertaining, and more. I'll be back. Just don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section about this.
This morning, hundreds of admirals and generals are leaving their posts from airfields, at sea, and at tactical headquarters around the world. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth summoning all U.S. general officers and admirals in command positions and senior enlisted leaders to a meeting at the U.S. Marine Corps base in Quantico, Virginia. But even those told to attend the meeting do not know what prompted Hegseth's call and what will be discussed. The Pentagon saying only the Secretary of War will be addressing his senior military leaders early next week. President Trump was asked about the meeting, but perhaps misunderstanding the question or unaware of the Hegseth meeting, he seemed to think it was foreign generals who were coming to meet Hegseth.
Well, I know. I love it. I mean, I think it's great. Let him be friendly. Let him be friendly with the generals and admirals from all over the world. Why? Is there something? Nobody's there something wrong with it?
Vice President Vance stepping in.
It's not particularly unusual that generals who report to the Secretary of War and then to the President of the United States are coming to speak with the Secretary of War.
But there has not been a meeting quite like this one, and it has created apprehension among senior officers. Last May, Hegseth ordering at least a 20% reduction in the number of four-star generals and admirals across the active duty force.
It's in keeping with President Trump's commitment to achieving peace through strength. We're going to shift resources from bloated headquarters elements to our warfighters.
The secretary has already fired at least 15 senior military officers, including General C.Q. Brown, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the first woman to command the Navy, Admiral Lisa Franchetti, also let go. While the topic of the meeting remains a mystery, given what President Trump and J.D. Vance said about it, it does not appear to be an urgent national security matter. But having this many senior officers away from their post does create concern among some. Rebecca?
Okay guys, breaking news. It looks like something big could be about to happen in the US, but we don't know what exactly it is yet. So the Washington Post just reported that Pete Hegseth, the US Secretary of War, just ordered a rare and urgent meeting of almost every single senior US official, military official from around the world. Now reports state that a meeting of this size and its urgency is not just rare, but it might be unprecedented. Now, what they will be discussing, or even why they are being called in to Virginia next week, is unknown. But also just a couple of hours ago, the Deputy Director of the FBI just tweeted, "God bless America, and to all those who defend her." And then, just to make the situation even crazier, this also comes as the US is facing a potential government shutdown because of a standoff with congressional Democrats over federal funding. On top of that, because of this potential, the White House is now threatening mass firings if there is a government shutdown. So, yeah, it's all freaking going off, but I guess we can have a busy week next week.
All right, so please hang out with me and just take a breath for a second. Hegseth has called a meeting of all military senior leaders next week. And there are a couple reasons why he could be doing this, and I'm going to walk you through some of them, okay? One reason is he could ask all of these leaders for a pledge of loyalty to Donald Trump instead of the Constitution. And if they don't give that pledge, he could have them fired or arrested. And when you hear that and you go like, holy, it's all over, they're going to take over the military. In order for me to believe that, which I don't, I would have to believe that every other leader and military person underneath them was going to just roll over if their leaders got arrested or fired. And that's not the case. Because let me be clear about this. Our entire military, especially the officers, especially the leaders from top to bottom, are trained in military history and are trained in the UCMJ, are trained in the Constitution. And the higher up they go, the better off they're trained. And they are trained against enemies foreign and domestic. And if you don't think in the back of their minds that they have thought about this or this coming down the pipe in some way, you would be wrong. The previous time that Trump was, running the country, military leaders were aware of this and they were preparing for this. They understood this was a possibility. During Biden's administration, when Milley gave that speech, "We do not answer to a king," they were preparing for this. When Biden said, "Remember your oath," they were preparing for this. So this is something that's been in the back of a lot of people's minds, a lot of military personnel's minds for multiple years. It was something you hoped would never really happen, but you knew it was there because it does say "and domestic." And so they are prepared for that. And they're also prepared to do what they have to do if that is the case. If military leaders start getting fired and there's a pledge of loyalty, that becomes a domestic enemy. And you can't tell me that the entire military is just going to suddenly roll over in all of these units, right? And some people will say like, "Oh, look how veterans voted in 2024. Okay, I'll look at how veterans voted. And it was like 67% that voted for Trump. But I'll also look at the fact that 50% of post 9/11 veterans voted for Kamala Harris. I'll also point you to the fact that the VA has been decimated, right? They have had military members rolling out red carpets for Putin. They put on a military parade where the military was not having that. They had flyovers where for like the first time in history, the flyover was delayed because the military was sending a message. They had to pass over 38 4-star generals to find a retired 3-star general to be his chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They fired the leader of the DIA for doing his job and giving the assessment of his agency. They fired him for doing his job. And if you think that sent a bunch of feel-good vibes throughout the military, it did not. They understood that this guy was getting fired for telling the truth, which is what you were trained to do in the military. That did not go over well. Hegseth is a running meme. There are articles about this. He's a running meme inside the military, okay? The support of the military is not there for this administration. And so Trump and his cronies may be being told that, like, hey, you can take over the military anytime you want. You just say so. They're being told that, like he's being told everything else. Everything is inflated. People love you. You have 90% approval rating, all this bullshit. You look around the country, historically low approval ratings, right? People do not dig his act. Farmers don't dig his act. Business owners are not digging his act. We are not digging his act. Prices are going up. Pay is staying the same, which is shitty as it is. None of these things play into his favor, but he's probably being told different. So that is an option where he says, hey, now's my time. I can go do this. I don't have to worry about Epstein anymore because I have control of the military. I have control of the country. Great. That is an option that they are thinking about. And he's probably being told to consider because he is living on a bed of lies. And so please be aware of that. There's another possibility in there as well, where, and if you see this build up and up over multiple days, it's a trigger. There's nothing they like to do more than trigger the libs. And even though they know they can't pull this off, and they could say like, hey, military, you're mine, do whatever you want, martial law, fire all the leaders and all this bullshit, it's mine. They could give you that impression so that, some people who are not aware are shitting their pants. And that's part of their game. And it always has been, if you remember, it always has been the bluster, right? So that's another option as well. And both of these options take breath away, space away from the Jeffrey folders, right? Absolutely. I think the House just canceled a couple days worth of votes where it could have come up with our new representative from Arizona, where they could have gone ahead and passed that discharge and got that ball rolling. So they canceled a couple of votes instead, right? Like that is front and center. And I think even part of this, if he's going to go down this road of not just trying to trigger people, but he's going to go down this road, I think some of that, he may have been blending in this whole like, hey, suddenly I'm supportive of Ukraine. Suddenly I don't want Israel to take the West Bank. And that has happened very recently, right? Like, so he's trying to do this little goodwill and like, hey, I'm a great guy. You should support me as I try to take over the country. If he goes option A, and it's not just trying to trigger people. If he goes option A, it will not go well for him. And domestic. All right. And you may see for the first time ever in United States history, the military remove a leader. Because they're not going to roll over. You would have to ask every member of the military to roll over. Some would. Some, like the diehard guys would, probably lower ranks, they would, okay? Some, okay? You're going to have a metric shit ton whose families have been affected by his policies and these broken promises and what he has done and the ridicule that he has put upon the military, and they are going to react in a different way. And most importantly, because they took an oath. And you may think that's nothing and it's just bullshit, but it's not. It's not. And for the leaders above them, it's not. And so I ask you to think about that. They're going to make you absolutely, they're going to try to make you go crazy with all this bullshit, but take a breath. Okay. One thing I will say is if this is the only place you get news, especially with the executive order about TikTok sale, if this is the only place you get news, please go to Red Ocean or Substack somewhere else and get your news there. All right. That is something I would look at. Reuters, BBC. If you're not following BBC, please follow BBC. Okay. AP, some of those are still valid. ABC, sketchy as fuck. CBS, more sketchy. But please don't lose your cool. And if shit goes sideways, there's things that we can do. Stop working. Start heading to DC. All of us. Just stop working and go. Your life will be better by heading there and us all taking care of this instead of slowly just, sliding into the abyss. So take a breath. I know you'll see this stuff about decapitating the military and it's all going to doom and gloom. Please take a breath. Okay. If you watch all this, I appreciate it. Right. We are not there yet. So take a breath, understand what is happening, but be ready. Okay. Just in case. But this will not go the way he thinks if he's trying to pull off what he might be. It will not. So please have faith in the military. Please have faith in the leaders, all of these brothers and sisters who have been bonded over decades of conflicts with each other, not with him, and to the Constitution and to the UCMJ. Okay? All right, thanks.
Okay, folks, next week our country changes forever, and I need you to be prepared for it. No violence. No violence. That would be the worst possible thing you could do. It would play right into their hands. And don't panic. Don't panic. I'll tell you why. So Texas Paul, hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. Yeah, this is the end of September, and next week they're about to decapitate the military. Pete Hegseth has called a meeting of well over 100 of our top generals. That give you an idea. I think there's only like 475 top generals and admirals. Not top, but total generals and admirals. I think there's like 475. He's called a meeting of over 100 of them. They're going to decapitate the military next week. That's what's going on. They've been moving towards that. The plans that they've been putting together, they've been calling a consolidation of leadership. And this is the Nazi playbook. They already did it with ICE. They did it with ICE. The $100 million they put into ICE was exactly the Nazi playbook. They went out and recruited out of the militias, and that's why they wear the mask, so you can't identify where they got these people from. Now the next step is decapitate the military and create super generals. These are generals that they're going to have basically ad campaigns for. They're going to get the nationalists behind them, the rah nationalists behind these generals to make superstars out of them, because they're sycophants that they can control, that will do anything that they're told. This will be the end of your country as you know it, but I need you to not panic, and this is why. You can stop this. You may not be able to stop these generals from being fired and removed, but you can stop this entire thing. A country of 330 million people that will not be governed cannot be governed. It's that simple. It's that simple. Protest, fight, boycott, fight economically. Close your wallet and sit your ass down. Folks, a bunch of unarmed Indians ran the most powerful empire at the time, the British, out of India by simply sitting their ass down. You can do that too. You can do that too. Most of these major corporations run on loans. If you just stop spending, they fold. You understand where the power is? You have the power. Use it, and use it wisely. Any violence plays into their hands.
Hey guys, really crazy story about Pete Hegseth that came out today, and you need to pay attention to this. It's very dangerous and very ominous. He has ordered every single general and every single admiral across our entire military, 800 plus people all around the world, to fly to Quantico, Virginia and have a meeting on Tuesday. There is no good reason to do this because, first of all, it creates a massive security risk to have all those, important people in one place at one time. Secondly, there is nothing that they would do there that they can't do like over Zoom or through, a video conference or a phone call. And when I think about that, it's got to be something like a loyalty test or a mass purge. It's got all kinds of Stalin, Soviet Union, Russia kind of overtones to it. And you think about this also in the context of the fact that they're about to do a government shutdown because the Republicans won't even, deal with the Democrats to try to keep the government going. It's like they want to have some darkness, in the government so they can do a bunch of shady stuff. And also that new media policy, blatantly illegal, but it's still a policy at the Pentagon that reporters cannot have any stories that come out that they publish unless they're pre-approved, which again, illegal, but they're trying to hide stuff, whether it's a potential invasion or attack on Venezuela, whether it's a mass firing of, generals and admirals. I don't know. Watch it, pay attention. It's really, really bad.
There's been a lot of confusion and anxiety with people about this Pete Hegseth meeting where he's called all the top generals and admirals from around the world to come and meet in one place, announcing exactly where it's going to be and when. And that anxiety and concern is definitely warranted. This is a meeting that's never happened before. And J.D. Vance, Trump, the whole administration is playing it off like it's normal. It's not normal. They're not even telling us exactly what it's about. But what we're hearing is it's just Pete Hegseth wanting to meet with these top military leaders to go over warrior ethos. Now, I don't buy that for a second. Do you? I think there's much more going on, much more at play, because he could have done that in an email or a Zoom call with everyone. He didn't have to have everyone come to the United States when they're stationed all over the world to do that. Now, I want to keep in mind something that no one's really talking about, and that's that Trump and Hegseth have stationed a bunch of our ships, our military Navy vessels, around Venezuela in the Caribbean. They've been blowing up boats that they are saying were smuggling drugs to the United States and were being smuggled by what they're calling terrorists, drug cartel terrorists. This situation in Venezuela is escalating. China just last Friday said they stand behind Venezuela and they are going to support them. China has now moved a medical vessel from their military close to Venezuela, trying to say it's there for this other humanitarian mission. I don't buy that for a second either. I think something could go down as tensions in Venezuela and the U.S. rise. And then there's also the escalating tensions in Russia as they continue to have incursions into sovereign airspace of European countries. And then there's also the situation where China at any moment could decide they want to go take Taiwan. So there are a number of things that could be happening and reasons he would convene this meeting. And he could be convening it because their system of messaging is compromised. Our communications could possibly be compromised by another country. And the one sure way to get a message across without it being intercepted is to have everyone physically come to you. So maybe that's what this is about. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
Hegseth has called a meeting.
The military has always kept itself separate from the government. It's one of our foundational beliefs. However, Sergeant Snuffy, who's got the keys to the arms room, he answers to Colonel Blackburn. Colonel Blackburn earned his wings. He's a full bird. Snuffy's going to do what Blackburn says. Not what Trump says. Not what Hegseth says. What Blackburn says. And if Blackburn says it's time to draw, then we draw. If Blackburn tells me to jump, I say how high. You know why? Because he earned those fucking wings. He did. I know the man personally. He's a good man. Whatever he fucking tells me to do, I'm going to go do it. Yeah. See, Trump wouldn't know anything about that because Trump dodged the draft, so he doesn't fucking know. Scotty doesn't know. But you can find out if you really want to, because you want to try and mass fire a bunch of generals. I'm just saying, Snuffy has the keys to the arms room. And Trump, you don't. You might be the commander-in-chief, but you don't have the keys to shit. Blackburn does. You would do well to remember that, Captain Bone Spurs, because we don't have a lot of respect for you. Okay, we don't. We don't like draft dodgers very much. Not around here. And I don't know if you know what it's like to be on the receiving end of a Mark 19, but it ain't good, I can tell you that.
So as a former military man, it's amazing to me the arrogance that Peter Hegseth has. The report says that he's calling all of the top generals to Quantico because he's going to give him a presentation about the warrior ethos. So the guy who joined the National Guard, who was a major, did one tour, as far as I understand, is going to teach the generals who have dedicated over 30 years, 20 years, 40 years of service to the country, having a whole bunch of different conflicts. He is going to tell them what a warrior ethos is. That is fucking, those are some stones on that motherfucker. That is such a lack of self-awareness. Besides, when you look up this warrior ethos, it has values that are not aligned with, for example, the Army values. It leaves some of those values out. But the simple fact that you have somebody like Peter Hegseth wanting to teach warrior ethos to the generals, he's got to be drunk, man. I'm Alex. This is my rant, and I'm out.
The rumor mill's going wild about what Pete Hegseth is doing with hundreds of military generals at Marine Corps Base Quantico, and the truth is nobody actually knows except for Pete Hegseth and a few people at the Pentagon that haven't actually leaked it yet. We've heard that he's going to fire a bunch of generals. We've heard that he's going to play some sort of top general Squid Games. We've heard even from some people that say he's going to require an oath of loyalty from them, and others say it's just going to be a rah-rah, let's get behind old Hegseth whole motivational speaking thing. All I can tell you is that last one, I can't imagine taking motivational speaking from Pete Hegseth. What I do think is that the Pentagon has been talking about reducing the number of generals since about March or April, that they want to revamp what the General Corps and Admiral Corps looks like in the United States military. Now, are they going to bring these people in because they're the ones that support the president the most and Pete Hegseth the most, or are they bringing in the ones that don't support him? And that's going to be the answer to what's going to happen. If they're the ones that maybe have come out publicly to subordinates and said that they don't agree with what's going on, they're likely to be the ones getting fired. If they're the ones that have come out and publicly supported them, it's likely to be some motivational rah-rah fest, and that's it. But either way, Pete Hegseth pulling hundreds of generals to Quantico and publicly letting that knowledge get out there because, WikiLeaks, that's what he does best. Well, guess what? That by itself is a risk. That right there puts all of these generals at risk. That right there puts the United States military at risk. Once again, at the hands of old Pete Hegseth. So what happens one way or another? He is currently putting the U.S. military at risk just by being in the position that he's in. The Secretary of Defense, by the way, not war.
Hey guys, listen, I don't know about you, but I was wildly pissed this week, really seriously angry, when I found out that Trump has created a draft executive order to create a warrior board. And that warrior board is supposed to go after our most honored and revered people in the country, our admirals and our 4- and 5-star generals. And what he wants to do, it's a test of loyalty to him himself, not to the Constitution, which is what they usually are loyal to. And what that means is that he is following the playbook that Hitler used. And he has studied those playbooks of how he became a dictator. And one of the first things he did was take out the generals and the top people in the country so that they had no more power. He created the Night of the Long Knives in 1934, and he executed about 500 people. That's how he did it. That's how he took over a country. And I am deeply afraid that our military cannot just be, sworn to Trump himself as a dictatorship. They are our last line of defense, and for the world. So our military needs to stand against him. They need to brace themselves. Trump had 5 different heads of the Department of Defense because 5 of them refused to go along with his plans in his first term. We have a very serious situation brewing. That one is deeply concerning, and I really hope that the news channels and the interior of our, Department of Defense are making plans on how the military can stand up and defend themselves against Trump. We need them to. It's our last defense.
Whatever he's up to, it's not good. Now, this differs from my usual astrology content, but what I'm saying is going to be supported by astrology. So Pete Hegseth is getting together all the generals and admirals to meet. No one knows really what it's about. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen and what's going to happen more long-term as well. This meeting is going to be about loyalty to Donald Trump, and generals and admirals who are independent and not bootlickers are going to be out of here. So what's going to happen is all the people at the top are going to be loyalists and not give Donald Trump any pushback and let him do exactly what he wants. So this is similar to what happened in 1934 when the army pledged an oath to AH instead of the state of Germany. This is concerning because as we see, the loyalists he has put in place already are batshit crazy and will literally do whatever he wants. So this would be like having his own military. So I do think the military is going to be somewhat or will be complicit in him trying to do his dictatorship thing. What I also think is to come is a paramilitary or militia. And this also would be similar to what happened in the 1930s with the SS. The SS started as a small unit like Hitler's security detail, but grew into an extraordinarily large group with like 900,000 members. And it had secret service, it's on, intelligence, it ran the concentration camps. It is the group that terrorized and intimidated people, but it also fought alongside the German army in World War II. All the warning signs of an authoritarian trying to take over the military have already actually happened in the U.S., tying his image to the military. Trump did that with the parade. Federalizing the National Guard. He did that in D.C., having them surround government buildings. He's called them my generals. But what he hasn't done has made them swear an oath to him. And what hasn't happened yet is MAGA becoming a domestic militia group. We've already seen that they can be that because January 6th, there are people that will literally die for him. They think they're dying for a cause. And now with all this CK stuff, it's like martyrdom. And they're just trigger happy, so trigger happy right now. They are rabid to do something to people who are non-MAGA. And I think all this stuff going on is going to recruit people. ICE could already maybe be considered that, but there's going to be a domestic militia. And my point is, I think that's how a civil war is going to start out. And I've said that in previous videos. But if we're following the 1930s playbook, which we have been to a T, there will be some sort of paramilitary that is Donald Trump's military that is probably working alongside a complicit state army.
Those right there are the speculations and concerns of the people that are watching this. One thing sticks and stands for sure, that US and the future of the US, this is not to fearmonger anybody. There's just quite a lot of unsettling stuff and uncertainty. And I think this explains the reason as to why, first of all, people are leaving as well. And the urge to leave is very strong. A lot of people are talking about how this might be a loyalty test. And as you have seen, anybody that does not agree with him, I believe that indeed he will get rid of them. That right there is going to be chaotic, I must say, right? But I can't help it but think about how in the recent UN meeting, when Trump was there, he spoke about how tariffs have enriched the country, how the prices of everything have gone down in the entire history of the United States of America. It saddens me and shocks me that a leader actually can stand on a podium like that and lie, not only to the world leaders, but also to the nation itself. And unfortunately, there are people that actually believe him. Speaks about how he ended wars, which wars he cannot write any. He speaks about how the prices of everything have gone down. I have just seen videos after videos just today of people that are literally complaining of how coffee is too expensive. What used to be around $8, like without a zero, 8, it's now $20. Meat, beef, steak, and every other minor little thing that used to actually be low, things are going high. So I don't know what gives him the caucasity to lie to the country when actually it is predicted that the country is going to shut down. But what stands for sure, if indeed they are preparing the generals for the loyalty test, I don't know how many will pass it, because from the look of things, even the veterans, majority of them are not with him at this point, especially since majority of them lost their benefits. Yeah, you already know how they feel about this. And question mark for me, or to me, I'm like, where is this money that he was talking about? He's cutting this and that. Where did he put all that money? Where did that money go to? And if indeed the tariffs are enriching the country like he's saying, then why is the country about to shut down? I don't know. I know if you agree with what people in here had to say. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Everything is just laid in front of you. It's up to you to discern and check what's happening. And also, the purpose of this video is to awaken people before all of this unfolds, just in case, you know, just in case. I hope you look back on this video and be like, actually, we were told a few days before on this channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section. For me, for today, that's it. I do love all of you. I want you guys to stay safe. Do not be afraid. You've been given a few solutions in here. If you can partake in that, please go ahead. Anything to make sure you guys are safe and are provided for. Love all of you. Stay safe. May God protect you, watch over you, and yeah, bless you. See you guys later. My name is Gracie. Till then, bye.